So in this segment of the presentation, we are just simply going to be going straight through the presentation without any explanations or very minimal explanations. And in this case, my client is going to be John. I'm already going to be in the house, and this is going to be a door knock scenario, so I'm not going to know anything about the client. I simply knocked on the door and he let me in, and now we're sitting at the kitchen table. So that's the stage that we're setting for this scenario here for the presentation's sake. All right, so let's get started. So John, tell me, again, we've built rapport. John, tell me, when you sent this in to us, what was on your mind? Were you looking for a little bit more coverage, or you just don't have any coverage at all? Oh, you don't have any coverage at all. Okay, well, I'm glad I'm here today. We'll make sure we take care of you and you have peace of mind before I leave here today. We'll get everything taken care of. So what I'm going to do in about 7 to 12 minutes is just tell you a little bit about who we are in our company and how we're going to help your family. Tell you a little bit about the free funeral planning as well, and it's something exclusive. No other company offers this. And go through a few health questions to see what you can qualify for, and then simply just find a plan that meets your needs and fits your budget. Okay, sound good? All right, great. So one of the key things, John, is that we pay our claims in 24 hours. So let me ask you, why is that important? Pause, wait for the response. That's right, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, funeral homes, you need money right away to pay for those expenses. And when do the funeral homes want to get paid? Well, they want to get paid, right? Yeah, they want to get paid right away. So, and how long does it take for insurance companies to pay out? Right, it could take a couple weeks. Sometimes it could even take a couple months. So, what's going to happen if your beneficiary? Let me ask you, who would be your beneficiary? Dave. Okay. And Dave's your brother. Okay. So John, if you have a life insurance policy with company X and they're taking months to pay out, what would Dave do? How would he, come up with that money? And that can be a problem. And our goal here today, because we pay out in 24 hours of the claim approval, it's going to solve that problem here for you and for your brother Dave. All right. So you mentioned, that Dave will be in charge of your final expenses. Now, let me ask you, has Dave ever planned a funeral before? No, he hasn't. Okay. So there's a lot of things that are going to be going on, and our goal is to make it easier for Dave, and I'm sure that that's your goal as well. And some other things you want to think about is how do you know if Dave's going to be getting a good price for this? And does Dave know exactly what you're looking for? He doesn't? Okay. So we're going to put a plan in place for here today that will answer all those questions and make things, again, much easier for Dave. Okay. Now, let me ask you, well, when was the last time John, when was the last time you experienced a funeral? Okay. Oh, your father 10 years ago. Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry to hear that. My condolences. It can be a tough time, of course. Were you involved in the planning? No, you weren't. Okay. So, well, John, let me ask you. I know you mentioned he passed away 10 years ago. Was there any insurance in place? Did he have any kind of life insurance coverage? He did. Okay. Well, that's great. So you definitely understand the importance of having this. And was there any other kind of planning in place for that? No, there wasn't. Okay. So what did your family do? Okay. So all right. So they had to come together and they had to get everything planned. And all right. I understand. So with this, there is going to be a plan. Everything will be mapped out. So there will be, and I'll show you how that'll work. So there'll be no strings left untied here. Now, do you remember what the cost was when your father passed? $8,000. Okay, yeah, that sounds about right. And the cost of funerals, they're not getting any cheaper. So of course you have the funeral expenses, and then you also have cemetery expenses on top of that. And so let me ask you, what do you think it's going to be 20 years from now? Because you're 50, so God forbid something happens in 20 years. What do you think the cost would be? Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be more. It's going to be a lot more. And as you can see here, the costs of funerals are going up pretty quickly here. In the past 30 years, they're going higher than inflation. So you can see in this example that, hey, the funeral costs $8,000, and then the cemetery costs added up to about $7,000. So that's a total of $15,000 there just in today's prices. So it can be a lot to come up with all at once, especially if you don't have a plan in place. Now, are you leaning towards cremation or are you leaning towards burial? You're leaning towards cremation. Okay. Well, I'll go over the costs with you here, and then on a pause, if the client says they're leaning towards a funeral, traditional funeral, then you have funeral expenses plus cemetery expenses. So there's both of those expenses on top. Now, of course, cemeteries are cheaper, so the reason why you ask this question is to structure how much coverage you're going to present to the client. Okay. So let's say in this case they're looking for cremation. John, since you're looking for cremation here, and cremation today's prices in 2019 is between $4,000 to maybe $5,000. It could be more, it could be less. It all depends on what you're looking for. But just on the inflation here, it's going to be in 30 years anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000. So it could be more than this. So our goal today is to get you the most coverage you can qualify for, but also something that's going to fit comfortably in the budget too. Because let me ask you, John, do you know what the best kind of coverage to have is? And they're going to say, what's that? Wait for the response. Well, it's the kind you can keep. It's the kind that's the affordable kind, and that's what we're going to do here for you today. Because we want this to be there tomorrow, God forbid if something were to happen, but we also want this to be here 30 years down the road. All right, and that's what we're going to accomplish here for you today. And we're going to accomplish that through Lincoln Heritage. So Lincoln Heritage is the #1 final expense company in the country. So congratulations, you're in good hands. I'll shake their hand. And we're nationwide. So this plan, of course, goes wherever you go. And our headquarters are in Phoenix, Arizona. Let me ask you, this is actually a picture of our headquarters. Have you ever been to Phoenix before? No, you haven't? Okay, have you done any traveling your time? Oh, you have? Okay, where all have you gone? Okay, Florida. All right, nice. Yeah, I have some family in Florida. So again, this is going to go wherever you go, and we're very financially strong. If all of our clientele passed away tomorrow, we could pay every single claim and be fully operational. We wouldn't even skip a beat. Our customer service is also phenomenal as well. I'm going to be your personal agent, so if you ever need anything, give me a call. You're going to have my cell phone number. It's the same number my mom calls me on. And if you ever need some adjustments, want to change a beneficiary, increase coverage or decrease coverage, and sometimes folks think they have to cancel, and you don't even have to cancel because it's because it becomes unaffordable for you for whatever reason. Say you have some financial hiccup. Well, instead of just canceling it and losing everything, you can call me and we can lower the coverage, which will also lower your payments, and that way you can have something which is better than nothing, right? Right. Now, this is headache free. All right, so whenever you contact our headquarters, which is in Phoenix, Arizona, you will always talk to a live operator. So it's such a nice feeling to be able to call someone and talk to a real person. It just doesn't happen very often anymore. I know you've probably with your cable company. Even when I call my bank, you have to dial 1, dial 2, just to get through to something. I bank with Citizens. Do you have Citizens as well? Oh, no, you have Wells Fargo? Okay, well, same thing. When you call Wells Fargo, it's a pain in the butt. But this is going to be stress-free for you and also stress-free for Dave. So when Dave needs someone to talk to, he can call me or he can call our corporate office, and that will assist them with what the next steps are. Okay. Now, a really amazing feature about this plan that you have is that we're going to provide you with the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society. What this is it's a society that's going to guard Dave during the funeral. And there's 3 excellent points about this. One, it is created by former funeral directors. So Dave is going to have a team of experts that are going to help him through the process to make sure that everything goes smoothly and easily as possible. And they know the ins and outs of the business, what should and should not happen, what things should and should not cost. Okay? And so you're going to have that peace of mind knowing that Dave's going to have the money and also have support through the process to, alleviate a lot of those stresses and provide some relief at that time. Now, you won't have to fill this out today, okay? And the third point is it's absolutely free. And it's exclusive too. So it's created by former funeral directors. It's exclusive. No other company offers this. And so you have something that no one else has unless they have Funeral Advantage already. And of course, it's free. Now, you won't have to do this today. This is going to come in the mail. All right, and you're simply, so once we get everything set up for you, we'll mail it off, and then you'll get a packet a couple weeks later. And when you open this up, make sure you do it right away, because a lot of people sometimes put this off, and then, it makes things tougher for your family. So what this is going to do, this is going to answer all the questions that need to be answered. It's going to make all the decisions ahead of time, so Dave doesn't have to make those tough choices and decisions at that time. Because you fill this out, he now is going to have an easier time, of course, as easy as it can be at that time, when you lose a loved one. But you'll just fill in your basic information here, next of kin, what kind of funeral services you're looking for. If you ever want to update anything, you always can, and you'll put your funeral homes of your preference here. Please, I want to make sure you put down at least 3. It gives us leverage, and I'll show you why in just a sec. And I'll show you why in just a sec. Cremation requests, you're looking for cremation, so you'll mark that down here of what you're looking for. You don't have any other coverage, so Lincoln Heritage will be your final expense coverage, so put that down here. Let's say you do get coverage with another company. Let's say it's through your work, or let's say you just come across another policy that you like and you want to get more. You definitely can get more with us or with another company. That's up to you, but you can also put that down here, which adds more value. That way, if something happens, then Dave won't have to go searching around. It'll be stored in our computer archives, and he'll get access to it, so it doesn't go unclaimed. Military record, you aren't in the military, so just leave that blank. Flowers, music, what you want to wear, the newspaper, the pets, all of this is going to be mapped out ahead of time, so Dave doesn't have to think about all these questions here. Now, another great feature about this is we provide consumer protection. Now, let's pretend, John, that you don't have a plan with us just yet, okay? And something happens to you, and Dave goes to the funeral home. And what do you think the first thing the funeral director wants to know? Right, they want to know how they're going to get paid. Okay, so they'll find that out by saying, "I'm very sorry for your loss, Dave. Did your brother John have life insurance?" Yes. Okay. Do you mind if we take a look and check out that policy just to make sure everything's in place? Sure. Here you go. Now, let's say you have a $20,000 policy. What do you think is going to happen now to the cost of that cremation? Right, it's probably going to go up, or cost $19.99. So we're going to prevent that from happening. We're not going to tell the funeral home how much coverage you have. We'll just say what you're looking for, which means that there's going to be more money going to Dave than a funeral home, which I'm sure is what you want. So when that time does come, you'll have this membership card. This you'll keep on your refrigerator or in your wallet, and you'll give 4 membership cards out to your family. And I'll get their information from you in a little bit. And once you get your packet in the mail, you distribute this card to them. But I'll give them a call ahead of time and sit down with them to educate them about how the plan works, keeping your information, of course, confidential, but just showing up the features of the plan so they can, get access to all the advantages and help, save your family time and money. So when that time does come, all Dave now has to do, how simple is this, is just take out this number, call the help hotline number, and he's done. When he calls that number, he's going to talk to our team of experts. They are then going to, and then you're going to move back to the page, they are then going to pull up the information here, and they're going to then call the funeral homes that you picked, and they're going to shop around. So let's say this funeral home is charging $12,000 for the cremation, but funeral home B here is charging $10,000 for the same exact quality. Well, we'll just say, hey, your competitor down the street is charging $1,000, $2,000 less for the same quality. So if you're not willing to match the price, we're just going to go down the street, and magically, guess what happens? Yeah, the price comes down. So we get you your preference and save save Dave a ton of money as well. So this is all free. This is all included with your plan. There's no extra cost for this. Now, what's also nice about this is that it's going to make sure that your plan doesn't go unclaimed. Now, I had a client, her name is Anna Marie, and she was very nice, and she said, she wanted to think about it. And I said, are you sure? She said, yeah, I just need some more time, you can get back to me whenever. I said, okay. So I gave her my information, and I left, and I got a phone call about like a week later and it was her nephew. And her nephew goes, hey, Dan, did Anna Marie get a plan with you? I said, no, why? But, I can come back. She's not too far away. I can come and help her out. He goes, well, it's too late. I was like, well, what do you mean? And what ended up happening was she passed away. I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. My condolences. Is there if there's something I can do, let me know. Did she have any kind of life insurance? And he said, I don't know. We've been looking all over the house and we can't find anything. I said, well, at least you know the name of the company. He goes, we can't even find a name. I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that. So what could potentially happen if she did have coverage, then that policy could go unclaimed. And because there's no way for the family to access it. Now, because you have these cards here, John, Dave won't have to worry, and you won't have to worry about this policy going unclaimed. All he has to do, again, is take that card out, contact our team of experts, and we'll get the plan in motion here. Now, it's very important. You just want to, and I'll reiterate it to him as well. When something does happen, is John going to call the funeral home first, or he's going to call this number first? Right, he's going to call this number first, because if he starts dealing with the funeral home, then he's going to get locked into those funeral home prices, and we lose our leverage. Okay, so we want to make sure that he calls us first. All right, and again, all these membership cards are free as well. Now, what's nice about this plan is that it's a whole life plan. John, are you familiar with whole life versus term life? Yeah, you are. Okay, well, just to reiterate, a whole life plan is like owning your home. Do you rent or do you own here? You own? Okay. So your mortgage never changes. So your payment will never change for any reason, unless of course you want to change something. And it's yours. It's permanent. Term life, most people end up outliving it. I would say 1 to maybe 5% of term life policies end up paying out. And term life is like leasing a car. When you lease a car, what happens when your term is up, when the lease is up? Right, you have to give the lease back. You have to give the car back. What happens to your money? Do you get that back? No, you don't get that back. You just paid for that time, so paid for that term that you had it. That's what term life is like, and we don't do that kind of insurance. So whatever you start at today, okay, this is going to be a permanent whole life plan. Your rate is going to be locked in, and we're going to go over that in just a sec. And your benefits are never going to change because your age or your health. So if something happens to you down the road in the future and you become unhealthy, well, your rate isn't going to change now. You're grandfathered in. There's no physical exams. There's just a few health questions, and we're going to put that, to find the best plan that meets your needs, of course, and also fits your budget. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my rate book and the health questions out here, and then we can determine what you qualify for. Sound good? Okay, great. So you're pretty much done at this point. So what you do is the next step is get out your health questions. As you're going through the health questions, now you're determining what they can qualify for. So get out your health questions, and as you're going through those health questions, pause and say, hey, I tell you what, this is another way of getting referrals. Hey, I tell you what, if you know anyone that would answer yes to one of these health questions, let me know and we can help them. I'll get their information from you in a little bit and reach out to them, because they probably are paying too much or can't find any coverage, or just need more coverage, because it can be very challenging for folks with these health issues or pre-existing conditions to find something good. And so again, planting the seed for referrals. I can't talk. So once you qualify the client, then the next step is you're going to get out that money sheet. It's a summary of the coverage, and you show them, the options, and you review that. And then you do, of course, do the pre-close before you present the numbers there. And there's some other videos on how to do that. Okay, so that's really everything. It's a short presentation, and the main thing is just asking the questions. The questions are what's gonna get the conversation going. Okay, it's the most important thing about the presentation are the questions that you ask, and the reason why we ask them is so the client basically closes themselves. The whole point of the presentation is to eliminate all the objections. So when it comes down to getting to the check, you've really peeled back all the layers. You don't have to resell or redo anything. You can just simply a nice smooth transition into the close and help the client out. So good luck with everything.